Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you happen to miss Saturday night's main event on May 24th, 2025, well, you missed something pretty wild. Some people called it an all-out war.
Yeah, it had that kind of energy, didn't it? Like a car crash, almost.
But it wasn't just the intensity, right? It was how this tag match kind of morphed into something else entirely. Something really unexpected happened that changed things up.
Exactly. So yeah, for this deep dive, we're focusing right on that opening tag. Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker Paul Heyman in their corner, naturally, versus CM Punk and Sami Zayn.
You had Michael Cole, Pat McAfee on the call, Lillian Garcia doing the intros, the whole Saturday night setup. Yeah, it gets you right up to speed on why this match ended up being so significant.
But actually, even before things officially kicked off, there was something else worth noting.
Oh, right. The gear. CM Punk and Sami Zayn, they both wore gear that incorporated the colors of the Palestinian flag.
And Zayn also had the 3 stars from the Syrian flag on his stuff. It was pretty noticeable. Some folks pointed out it might be the closest WWE's come to directly referencing that specific issue on TV.
It definitely made a statement right from the entrances, set a certain tone.
For sure. It's interesting seeing performers use that platform, wrestling, to bring in these real-world conversations. Forces you to pay attention.
Okay, but speaking of paying attention, the action started before the bell even rang. It got chaotic fast.
Oh, yeah. Punk and Zayn just went right after Rollins and Breakker. No waiting around.
Zayn actually tossed Rollins right out of the ring, and then he and Punk just immediately double-teamed Breakker. Intense start.
It really showed the bad blood there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing Punk and Zayn working together so smoothly, given their own complicated pasts. They seemed united against this, Rollins-Heyman faction.
So the bell finally rings, and it's officially Zayn and Rollins starting things off. But that early momentum Punk and Zayn had, it didn't last too long.
Nah. Breakker tagged in, and man, he just took over for a bit.
Yeah.
He slammed Zayn's head hard onto the announce table.
Oof. Yeah, and then that flying lariat off the apron.
Whoa. Breakker almost decapitating Zayn.
Yeah.
Just pure power on that move.
So then we go to commercial, and when we come back, we see Rollins was, doing his thing, getting cheap shots in on Zayn while the ref was distracted.
Right. Showcasing that they're already working like a well-oiled machine, Rollins and Breakker, even though they're a relatively new pairing. Very cohesive.
But Zayn, he managed to fight back, create some space, and finally get the tag to Punk, and the place just went nuts.
Big pop for that hot tag.
Yeah.
And Punk came in like a house on fire, didn't he?
Totally. He hit that leaping calf kick, the swinging neck breaker, then a coda red for a really close 2 count.
And wasn't there another near fall?
Yeah. He actually hit that diving elbow drop for another near fall. That was kind of cool to see.
It's a smart way to keep the crowd guessing, mixing his own stuff with something current like that.
Yeah.
But then the momentum shifted again, right?
It did. Punk went for the GTS, but Breakker was there to cut him off.
Which led to Rollins hitting the pedigree.
Yep. Pedigree connects. Looked like it was over, but only a 2 count because Zayn dove in just in time to break up the pin. The pace was just relentless.
Seriously, non-stop action. And Zayn got his own moments after that, right?
Oh, yeah. Zayn gets back in, hits that awesome tornado DDT, then follows it up with the exploder suplex, sending Breakker crashing into the turnbuckles. He was totally setting up for the Hoveliva kick.
You could feel it coming. The crowd was ready.
And just as he's about to charge, Paul Heyman,
of course, reaches under the ropes, grabs Zayn's leg. Classic Heyman move.
stops him cold. Total momentum killer exactly when Zayn had things going his way.
Such a calculated interference. And while the ref's dealing with Heyman, trying to sort that out,
That's when it happened. Utter chaos, out of absolutely nowhere. Bronson Reed.
hops the barricade, just vaults over like it's nothing.
And just trucks CM Punk, runs right through him with a huge body block, sending Punk flying through the Timekeeper's area barricade.
Just demolished him. And this was about 13 minutes into the match? Wrestling news sites clock the bell to bell around 13 minutes, 10 or 15 seconds. So deep into the match.
The timing was perfect for maximum shock value. Reed just appears, takes out Punk.
And the surprise element was huge. Multiple reports highlighted that. Just nobody expected him, especially right then. It's that kind of unexpected return that really gets people talking, doesn't it?
Definitely. It immediately makes you go, wait, what? What does this mean?
And poor Zayn, he sees his partner get absolutely destroyed at ringside. He's stunned, distracted.
Turns around, right into a massive spear from Bron Breakker.
And that was it. 1, 2, 3, Breakker gets the pin, Rollins and Breakker win.
But like you always say, the story doesn't end when the bell rings.
Not even close, especially not here. The stuff after the match was maybe even more revealing.
Right. So Rollins immediately goes over and hugs Bronson Reed, like a genuine embrace.
Then Reed turns and shakes Bron Breaker's hand. Now, this was interesting. Breaker looked kind of surprised by Reed's appearance.
Really? Like he wasn't in on the plan.
Maybe not entirely. Or maybe just surprised by the timing or Reed himself being the one. The suggestion was Heyman had to quickly, explain things to Breaker ringside. He seemed to go along with it after that. But that initial reaction, it hints at some interesting dynamics within this new group already.
Yeah, that adds another layer, a potential crack, maybe.
Yeah.
Or just Heyman keeping things close to the vest.
Could be either. But then things got worse for Punk. He stumbles back towards the ring, obviously still dazed. Looks like he wants a piece of Heyman.
And Reed just cuts him off again, steps right in.
Hits him with a sentence splash first. Then, while Rollins and Breaker hold Punk down, Reed goes up top.
Oh, man. The tsunami.
Yep, comes crashing down with that massive top rope splash. Just a brutal, definitive beatdown to end the segment. Really cemented Reed's return and his new friends.
So, okay, Bronson Reed is back, but why with these guys? Wasn't he out for a while?
Yeah, he'd been on the shelf since Survivor Series last November with a broken ankle.
Oh.
So, significant time away.
But the bigger thing, and wrestling sites were quick to point this out, the history between Reed and Rollins.
Exactly. That's the huge question mark here. Last summer, they had this really intense feud. Reed was the one who put Rollins out of action.
Yeah.
He hit him with multiple tsunamis back then.
Seriously, he injured the guy he's now helping. That makes, zero sense on the surface.
Right. It's almost unbelievable. Why would the guy who took you out violently now be your ally? What's the motivation? That's the big mystery.
So any theories floating around?
Well, the main speculation is that Rollins is probably going to have to explain this whole situation maybe as soon as Raw this week. There has to be some story there, some deal that was made,
Yeah, they can't just ignore that history. It's too significant.
And it's interesting, this kind of surprise debut or return, it feels a bit like what happened with Jeff Cobb recently.
How so?
Well, Cobb also showed up unexpectedly, attacked someone, and there were questions afterwards about who exactly knew the plan beforehand. Remember the talk about Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu maybe being caught off guard a bit?
Oh, yeah, right. So WWE might be using that element of surprise, that maybe not everyone's clued in angle, as a deliberate storytelling tool more often now.
Seems like it. It definitely creates intrigue and makes things feel less predictable, which is always good. Keeps you guessing.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The match itself, before Reed showed up, people described it as super fast-paced.
Yeah, almost like a video game style, some said. Just boom, boom, boom. Big move after big move. Lots of near falls packed into a short amount of time.
Do you think that's just the style now, or is it because it was on Saturday night's main event? Maybe limited time?
Probably a bit of both, but definitely influenced by the show format. SNME isn't a 3-hour Raw or a PPV. They have a limited window.
So they got to pack in the important stuff.
Exactly. You prioritize the big moments, the major storyline beats, maybe sacrifice some of the slower builds you'd get in a longer match.
And speaking of limited time, someone pointed out there were apparently 2 commercial breaks during that 13-minute match.
Right. So if you factor that out, the audience might have only seen, maybe 7 or 8 minutes of the actual wrestling?
Wow. That really highlights how much they crammed in. You blink, and you might miss a finisher attempt or a big save.
It definitely frames these SNME matches as, condensed highlights focused on advancing the narrative. And the big narrative here was clearly Bronson Reed's return and this new alliance. Let's take a look at Dave Meltzer's review.
Okay.
Yeah, what did Meltzer find noteworthy? There are some pretty specific details in there. Expect a few surprises, maybe.
Kicking us off then, the overall impression from the notes. The match itself was solid, got 3.5 stars.
Decent rating. But what seems just as important, maybe more from the notes, is the crowd. Meltzer flags that they were very hot.
Very hot, yeah. And specifically for CM Punk, that reaction really seems to be a key takeaway here, according to this source anyway.
Definitely. And something else that jumps out right away is a criticism Meltzer brings up quite a bit, actually. It's not new.
Let me guess. The announcers?
Yeah. Bingo. The commentary, specifically how it can sometimes, telegraph that a big move isn't actually going to be the finish.
Ah, right. And he gives a specific example from this match, doesn't he?
He does. Michael Cole's call. It was when Rollins hit the pedigree on Punk.
Okay.
Cole's phrasing was something like, Rollins looking to put Punk away.
Uh-huh. but the delivery wasn't convincing.
That's the implication in the notes. The lack of real enthusiasm kind of gave it away, leading to Meltzer's, sarcastic comment.
Oh, yeah, thankfully, I don't think anyone thought it was.
Exactly. It just shows how much Meltzer felt it was obvious and how closely he's listening for those little tells in the commentary.
Okay, so aside from that, what about the action in the ring? Anything praised?
Yeah, a couple things. Sami Zayn's Arabian moonsault got a specific mention.
Oh, nice.
Meltzer noted it was a tribute to Sabu, who recently passed, which, is a nice detail to include.
Definitely. And Sami overall?
Just that he looked real good. Simple as that. Positive no for Zayn there.
All right. Then, after the match, things got interesting. Bronson Reed shows up.
Yep. Unexpected arrival. And the notes are clear. He got a big reaction from the fans.
So his appearance was treated as a significant moment in the review itself.
Seems like it. And that led straight into a post-match thing.
The stare down. Breaker and Reed.
Right, that initial face-off. But then they quickly formed an alliance with Rollins. Shook hands.
Okay. Did Meltzer have an immediate take on that?
He did. Specifically on the idea of Breaker versus Reed down the line, stemming from this. His note says that match shouldn't happen for a long time.
Interesting. A specific booking opinion right there in the review notes.
Yeah. But maybe the most intriguing part, and where you see a potential story get set up and maybe dropped, involves Reed and Punk.
Go on.
Reed hit CM Punk with his finisher, the Tsunami.
Okay, big impact move.
Meltzer reminds us that Reed injured Seth Rollins last year with multiple tsunamis.
Right, so Punk taking that same move, you immediately think, okay, injury angle, potential time off, a storyline.
Exactly what it suggests.
Okay.
The notes immediately follow that up by mentioning what happened just 2 nights later on Raw.
What happened?
Punk came back, did a run-in, and Meltzer's note says he didn't sell the beating at all.
Didn't sell it at all after taking the Tsunami just 2 days before.
That's what the source states. No selling of the move that injured Rollins and that he just took.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean immediately?
Well, the most obvious thing seems to be a feud between Bronson Reed and CM Punk, right? Reed targeted him specifically, took him out. That post-match attack screamed, future program.
Makes sense. Reed needs a big feud coming back, and Punk is obviously a top guy.
For sure. But what about Punk and Zayn? Despite losing, they looked pretty unified. That coordinated gear working together.
Yeah, that felt strong. It didn't seem like just a random pairing for the night. Maybe their story continues too.
I think it might. There seemed to be a real connection there worth exploring more.
And then you've got Rollins' group, this stable alliance. What are we calling it?
They still need a proper name. But whatever you call it, adding Reed makes them instantly dominant on Raw.
Rollins, the strategist, now flanked by these 2 absolute powerhouses in Breaker and Reed.
Yeah, surrounding himself with monsters, as some put it. It's a really interesting dynamic. How does Rollins manage these guys? What does it mean for his title reign? It really shakes things up.
It really does. Just when you think you know the landscape, bam, something like this happens.
Classic pro wrestling. Keep you on your toes.